Grey County.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Today on Voices of Grey, we are going to take a short look at the county's history of wool production and woolen mills, and then speak with Doug and Carolyn Lilleyman from Kickin Alpaca Farm in Markdale to learn about raising alpacas as an alternate source of fleece. Grey County had an abundance of water power in the early days of its manufacturing history, and from the beginning, almost every settler's livestock included a few sheep. As the 19th century gave way to the 20th, settlers arrived in Grey County from the more settled parts of Canada, as well as European immigrants with wide and varied skills, including millers and millwrights, who knew how to capture the power of Grey County's rushing streams and waterfalls. That power was converted into energy that drove machinery to saw logs, grind grain, and process local wool into cloth. The handcrafting of clothing from raw wool was inevitably replaced by factory processing, and woolen cloth became more readily accessible. The earliest woolen mill in the county was the Edge Mill of Durham, and it was included with the flour mill operation there in 1847. As the town grew, more woolen mills were established to meet the demands of the population. In 1865, Durham Mills added a woolen mill for custom carding and fulling. In 1880, John Campbell bought the Grey Foundry and converted it into a wool mill. He advertised carding, spinning, weaving, fulling, and cloth pressing. He sold flannels, tweeds, full cloth, and stocking yarn. He accepted payment by cash or by wool. Brothers Josiah and Cyrus Singh arrived in Meaford in 1846, and after a brief business partnership with Jesse Purdy, the owner of the existing woolen mill, Cyrus returned in 1856. On the Big Head River, he built a 2-story mill house with a sawmill on the ground floor and a wool factory above. At Inglis Falls, Peter Inglis built a woolen mill and factory, which he rented to other operators. J. Benner and Son ran the wool operation there from 1875 to 1901. There was a building for drying blankets next to the mill. Here the wool was carded and made into rolls for spinning wheels. The spun threads were woven by the weavers into blankets and woolen material. Quite a number of young female employees knit wool into socks and mittens. Unfortunately, the Inglis Falls woolen mill burnt down in 1885, was rebuilt, and then burnt again in the winter of 1901. In Owen Sound, brothers John and Robert Harrison operated grist, flour, wool, and sawmills at what is now known as Owen Sound's Mill Dam area from 1853 to 1866. In 1863, the Harrison Brothers Mills advertised that they had machinery for sawing, grinding, carding, fulling, pressing, and shearing. By 1866, they advertised cloth dressing on 2 carding mills. In 1867, William Harrison purchased the full rights to the mills and operated them until he died in 1879. His widow, Sarah, continued running them until her death in 1904. Their 2 sons, John and William, ran the mills jointly afterward. The Northern Textile Mill Company acquired the former Harrison Woolen Mill in 1927, and a number of women worked there as mill hands. During the Second World War, the company produced army blankets. The William Looser Company of Toronto acquired the business and ran it until 1952. After the company was shut down, the building was used as the Croft Haven School from 1955 to 1969 and was torn down in 1996. There are no buildings left along Owen Sound's mill dam that hint at its industrial past and the importance of raising sheep and milling wool. Times change, and the way we do things changes too. In Grey County, there are now approximately 77 sheep farms, which produce tens of thousands of head per year. The majority of the wool from these animals is sent out of province or out of country for milling before heading to textile factories. Okay. So here we are in Grey Roots Collection Storage area, and I'm going to just give you a glimpse of some of our textile working tools and implements we have in storage here. This is called a tweezel brush, and as you can see, it's made from vegetable matter, basically, and it is, they're stuck into this crossbar here, this wooden crossbar, which is, again, stuck through a vertical crossbar, and this would be for teasing out woolen debris, making the wool from the sheep smoother. And then these are called hand carders. And again, you take the wool and you basically card out the impurities of the wool, and you're teasing it into something that could be then spun into yarn. This is a wool winder. It's got 4 arms. Sometimes you see them with 6. And this would be to tease out the wool and get it into a long line of usable yarn. And of course, the last stage of winding the wool would be to spin it into really usable fine yarn, that could then be used to make cloth or to knit. And as you can see, it would have been run by the person's foot. And this is one of the many spinning wheels in the Grey Roots Museum and Archives collection.
Hello and welcome to Voices of Grey. I'm Philly Markowitz, and we are in the schoolhouse today at Grey Roots Museum and Archives in Morstan Heritage Village. And as you've probably already guessed, we have some extra special guests. Joining us from Kickin Alpaca Ranch are Carolyn and Doug Lilleyman. And Carolyn is here to tell us about the ranch and the business and alpacas, and Doug is here to animal wrangle and entertain us with these gorgeous, beautiful creatures. And Carolyn, you can remind me of their names.
The mom is Tanata and her son is Tyrone, and Tyrone's just 4 months old.
And he is the one who is making that humming sound. It is not whatever device you're watching on. He is actually going and comforting himself. So welcome.
Thank you.
Tell me how you got into alpaca farming and why, when, why, anything you want to tell me.
We started in 2007. We owned a cottage resort on Lake Eugenia. We bought the farmhouse beside it. The guests thought there should be animals in the barn, so we bought the first 2 alpacas. And then we found out they were lonely, that they needed more, so we bought 4 more alpacas. And before we knew it, we decided to sell the resort and become farmers with absolutely no experience or background. We just decided to dive in and do it.
That's a gigantic leap of faith. So why, what attracted you to alpacas in the first place? What made you buy the first 2 and then continue?
It had to be animals for the resort. My concern was kids hopping over the fence and getting hurt. Right. People on holidays don't want barn smells, loud animals. And because we were busy running the resort, it had to be something that was pretty low maintenance. And alpacas pretty much cover all of that.
Okay, excellent. So where do you live now? Tell me about the farm and the ranch that you're on.
So we are now Kickin Alpaca Ranch, and we're on the west back line, right halfway between Markdale and Flusherton.
Right.
And we have 2 barns, one for the males and one for the females. It just keeps everybody a little bit calmer.
Yeah.
And at the moment we have 55 alpacas. Wow. We can hold 75 in the 2 barns. So.
Wow. And what's special about your alpacas if you compare yourself to other farms, for example?
We're completely hands-on. We're in the barn all the time, and when we do our farm tours, it's hands-on. The people get to come in and pet them and feed them, and we let so many alpacas out of the pen, and they get to walk around and be with the people. And then after we finish our tour, we go into the house where our store is, and we have all of our products that we're making from the alpacas there.
And you're wearing some now, and we can get back to that. But I think these 2 might need a little attention. Do you want to tell us a little bit more?
So they're not used to being inside a schoolhouse with bright lights. This is the first time they've ever done that. Tyrone's one of our stars when we do our farm tours. He's quite happy to be close to people and receive treats from them. So this is just a little humming saying, I'm not too sure about this. I'm a little bit uncomfortable. But they're both just standing there, so they're not overly upset. If they were really upset, the humming would be much louder and they would be heading for the exit.
So it is my understanding, and this is something I learned when I came to visit your farm, that alpacas are a pretty safe bet to bring inside buildings because they have really good hygiene habits. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so alpacas use communal dung piles. So if she has nothing to smell around her, any scent of a dung pile, she will hold it for a long time. So before we bring them in, we take them to the side out of the way, and we give them a few minutes to go to the bathroom, and then we come in. So there really shouldn't be a problem with them being inside.
So they're essentially house trained without a lot of work.
Yep, and it's natural. It's nothing we've taught them. It's just their instinct to use the communal dung pile. So that makes keeping the farm clean easy. Like you can clean up the poop piles in a couple of days. Everything's removed from the farm, all the manure.
And it also makes traveling with them easy. Tell me about some of the things you do off-farm with your animals. Yeah.
We were at a wedding last summer.
Yeah.
We have gone to the nursing homes, vacation Bible school, story time at the library, just wherever anybody needs something to brighten their day.
And do you do like educational programs with them
we
off
do.
the farm, or?
We've done a couple with Grey County Ag. We did a workshop with them.
Yeah.
And now we're working on, that's going to be our big goal this winter, is to focus on a whole educational program that people will come to the farm and have a day workshop, and we will show them the basics, how to cut toenails, all the things that they would need to know so that before they buy, they have an understanding of what they're getting into, what type of fencing is necessary, what type of building is necessary.
Right. When I visited your farm, which I believe was 2 summers ago, you showed me the part of your barn that was dedicated to shearing and to sorting the fleece. Do you want to describe that? Because I found that really fascinating, the different qualities that you sorted into and how and why.
So we do our own shearing. Doug's the shearer, and then we have a lot of volunteers that come and help. And when the fiber comes off the alpaca, we wrap it separately. The best part being the blanket, which is the back, the sides, and the hip. And then often the neck is a little bit shorter, so we put it in a separate bag, and the legs sometimes are coarser, so we put that in a third bag, and everything is labeled, and with the animal's name as well as the fiber. And then when I go to work on it, I check it all. So you don't put short in with long, so I have it out on a big screen table so that some of the debris falls through, and I check it all and get it ready to go to the mill, making sure that it's clean, the same micron, like diameter, and the same length. So there's always a purpose. So the coarse stuff off the legs or bellies, we use that for things like dryer balls and insoles, duvets, things that aren't on the skin. And then the nicer fiber goes into hats and shawls and scarves.
Right, so is some of that fiber being spun and some being felted?
Right now we're felting everything. Pretty much we send some for our duvets. There's certain products that we don't have all the machines to make. So it's our fiber and we ship it off and it comes back to us. But other than that, we are now making all of the shawls, hats, rugs, scarves,
wall
mitts,
hangings.
wall hangings ourselves on a felt loom.
So tell me about alpaca duvets. Why would someone choose that?
Alpaca duvets are much lighter than a lot of duvets. You don't need them to be packed tight.
Yes.
The way they're made, they don't get pockets of fiber, like it's
Because
a
they
whole
don't
back
clump?
the width of the bed.
The way
Yeah.
feathers do? Okay.
And then it's stitched in 6-inch pieces.
Right.
So it doesn't shift
Oh,
at
I
all.
understand,
So it's
yeah.
always in one piece. It's hypoallergenic. It's warmer than wool. And dust mites don't live in duvets, but made of alpaca. So there's a lot of benefits.
And it breathes well, so you don't get too hot, but it keeps you warm.
So tell me why we are not seeing them everywhere.
Because there aren't enough alpacas. You figure Grey Bruce County has about 67,000 sheep,
Yes.
and all of Canada doesn't even have that many alpacas.
Right.
So there's just not enough out there, and a lot of the farms do their own thing.
And is this because alpacas are not dual-purpose animals the way sheep and lambs and ducks are foods we eat as well as producing fiber? Is that the main reason, or are there other reasons? I'm curious to know about the industry.
There's not a big enough herd.
Right.
So doing a co-op thing yet isn't all of that popular because people don't want to give up the control and some of the money. So for us, our whole business is alpacas. Right. So we have the duvets made and we sell them. Other farms will just shear their alpacas and make something themselves. A lot of spinners and weavers in this community, so they do their own thing. And then some of the other farms, they don't want to be bothered with, they just want to have the animals because they're beautiful. Right. And they shear them and then they sell it to a mill. So to come to a point where you can just go into a high-end linen shop and see duvets, alpacas, it's a long way off before that's going to happen.
Right. Because the supply chain just isn't there. And on your farm, from what you're describing, you are controlling the entire value chain.
Yep.
So maybe walk me through what your calendar year looks like on the farm. What happens, in the winter and in the spring, and what the flow is through the year, so people can understand.
We'll start in the middle of the year. It's easier to work that
wherever
way.
It makes the most sense for you.
Spring, shearing is first week of May, give or take. And we have volunteers come and help us shear. Doug's the main shearer. My job is to get the fiber graded, sorted, and weighed, and all in inventory so we know what we have.
Yeah.
So we spend a few days over a week getting the shearing done. And then the next big thing on the farm would be birthing, which is anywhere from mid-June to August. So depending on our breeding season, how it goes, that could be, we're trying to bring it in tighter.
Is that their natural time to breed? I just think of how sheep are usually, are often February and
we
March
can breed
here.
them anytime you want.
Okay.
They're induced ovulators, so you can just whenever you want them. So we want ours all born early enough in the season that I go by Thanksgiving, winter could come to stay, or the cold temperatures.
Got it.
So everybody has to have a full, warm enough coat.
To make it through the winter
adults
in
who
the
were
barn.
sheared, and the crias, they have to have enough coat to keep them warm. Like we're not putting coats on them or locking them in the barn. They still want to be outside. So.
Okay, great.
So then we have the babies coming, and in between I'll be working getting fiber ready to go to the mill. Now we're focusing on the farm tours pretty much all summer.
Yeah.
So I do farm tours almost every day. I'm now taking Tuesdays off, but and then
we'll come back to those as well. We'll come back to those once you get through the calendar. I want to hear more.
So the summer's tours, and then in the fall, we're just making sure everything's ready for the winter, and then I'm starting to work on projects for the winter, start making things, getting fiber ready to go to the mill to be, I send it to be washed and turned into bats, and then it comes back and I make everything from that point.
Right.
And then all winter I just do making the bats. Doug does all the fun stuff like the paperwork and the taxes and all of that. And I get all the fiber stuff ready. So through the winter, that's what we'll be doing, and focusing on doing our workshops, educational workshops.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to run those in the winter when other farmers also have a bit more time.
Yep.
So the winter is pretty much time for researching, repairs, and going ahead with ideas and making our products.
So, let's talk about your fiber arts. You can do a show and tell with what you're wearing.
Yeah,
maybe
so what I'm
describe
wearing,
the equipment and your products.
100% alpaca fiber,
Yep.
and it's gone through a felt loom. So it's about this thick going in light bats. So it's bats of fiber crisscrossed, and our felt loom's a bit bigger than this, and has 892 barb needles that are about 3.5 inches, and it just compresses it. So the fiber goes in on rollers, and the machine comes down and compresses it.
Right.
So we can make huge sheets of fabric.
Right, anyone who is hand felted with a single
the same ideas
knows how much work it is.
The same way the crafters that make the figurines and things and the pictures, the same needles they're using, except for ours, we're doing it so we can do big sheets of fabric.
Yes.
And then we can cut and sew and.
Right, so you roll the bats through and they get
Yeah, so it goes
compressed
into
as
the
they
machine
go.
about 2.5, 3 inches thick.
Yeah.
And then by 6, 7 runs through, it comes out, and this is like really solid fabric.
Yeah. So no, does it require any water or any boiling or anything? No, just
It's
the
just
needles.
washed, and even when it's washed the first time, it doesn't need any harsh chemicals or hot water. It's just field dust, so it's very easy to clean.
So they don't have lanolin. They don't have any
no
grease
lanolin,
in
is
their
what makes
fibers.
it much easier.
Which is why there's literally no smell. I mean,
Yeah.
I've touched them and they are right here in the room with us, and there's no odor whatsoever.
They're very, very clean animals, and like I said, it's just field dust.
Yeah.
I have often sheared them and just spun it dirty and then
Yeah.
washed the finished hat or shawls, because it's easier to wash something solid than
Sure.
5 pounds of fluff.
Sure. So,
Come here, Tyrone.
do you need attention, or do you need to go outside? What do you think they would like?
I think they're just a little bit restless. They're just not sure.
Yeah.
You're okay. Come on.
Those eyelashes.
You're okay.
Well, if you do
They're
feel the
okay.
need to take them out, by all means you can, but I'm enjoying looking at them. So tell me about the kinds of things that you say you can cut, and and you've got the duvets, which are made by others. What else have you got, and how can people find it, most importantly? Let's not forget how to direct people to your farm.
Yeah.
And how to direct people to your
Yeah, so
products.
we, for the farm tours, it's Kickin Alpaca Ranch, and we also
Right.
sell the alpacas.
Yes.
And we're very careful who we sell to. Like, we won't sell our babies, they're not pets, and
Right.
so we're very careful about where they end up. So Kickin Alpaca Ranch is the farm tours and the sale of the animals, and then Laslin Alpaca is now our name for our products that we're making.
Right, and you've been able to keep your farm tours going through pandemic with protocols?
We
Tell me
have
how that has affected your farm.
So when COVID first hit, we shut everything down completely.
Yep.
We were shut for almost 3 months, and then we reopened with all the proper protocol. We sanitized between each visit. Only one family can come at a time, so it's just your group up to 9 people. That's it.
Okay.
Do you want kisses?
Oh.
Yeah,
I
so
don't know about from that angle, but from this angle, I just saw some kissing going on. That was pretty adorable.
So we started doing the tours. People have to sanitize when they come in.
Yep.
And then we're in the barn. They're allowed to feed the animals, pet them, and everything. We go into the house to the store, and they're allowed to look at all the stuff and buy what they like.
Right.
And then when it's time for them to leave, we clean everything again before the next group. We've allowed enough time that we can completely clean between them.
Great. Now, it's funny because I know from having visited that most of your animals are shades of gray, and I am looking at one who is dark brown, almost black, and one who's got all sorts of colors.
So
you want to tell me about your breeding and what you look for?
We breed for gray and black.
Yeah.
And Tyrone is actually gray. Underneath that,
Is he going
the
to
tips
mature?
of his fiber are stained from the amniotic fluid. So when you open his fiber up, he is actually gray. He has a big brown spot here and a big black spot somewhere, but he is actually a gray alpaca, and he will
Look at this look on my face. This is amazing. I love learning
So when
new
you come
things
to
like
the barn
that.
right now, if you come to
Yes.
into the barn and you look, we have a whole batch of brown crias from this year.
Right.
But 6 of them are actually gray. So it's just the
They just
amniotic
have to
fluid.
grow into their coat that's not
Yeah.
stained.
So if you open him up and look at him, you can see that he's gray the same as your shirt.
Oh my goodness.
And so when
Thank you
he's
for not
sheared-
saying my hair.
So next year he will be absolutely stunning. He will still have the big spots, but he's stunning.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah.
So we have about 3 or 4 minutes left.
Okay.
And I want to make sure that if there's anything we haven't covered, please let me know what it might be now. I mean, I'm excited to know what you have coming next, what future plans are.
Well,
but if there's anything else.
My future plans for making stuff this year is purses, slippers, and blankets. That's my
Okay.
goal, to learn how to do that in the winter. And we're working on a new website. Yeah, we're working
Okay.
on a whole new website for Laslyn.
Yep. Ooh, can you please spell that? for folks?
Laslyn.
Okay, Laslyn.
Laslyn.
So Laslyn Alpaca.
So
we'll get people
Laslyn is
there.
simply the last 3 letters of Douglas and the last 3 letters of Carolyn.
Perfect.
And that's it.
That really helps. Okay, thank you.
So people will be able to, we have some of our products online for buying now, but not everything.
Yep.
So we're hoping to get everything online that people, they can come to the farm, call and make an
Yes.
appointment, or they can buy online and we will ship it out. And the farm
Wonderful.
tours, we will be doing them all winter long as well. I'm quite happy to be out in the barn in the winter, so.
Okay.
And
Good.
the alpacas, they're happier in the barn in the winter too.
bet
Like
they
the
are.
cold temperatures. They don't care about being outside though.
Wow. Doug, you've been very quiet in your job there handling. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No. Keep my attention on them so they don't get all tangled up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they've been amazing guests considering that they've not been here before and in fact not been off the farm before. So I think that's a good indicator of what gentle animals they are if people are going to come visit you.
Yeah, they're very calm. They don't mind. Some of them enjoy the guests, and we have some that don't want to be out with the people, so we don't let them go out.
Right. Well, I have a very fond memory of coming on your farm and giving one a very big hug and you snapping a photo, which is
Yeah.
still one of my favorite photos, I must admit. I'm not sure if I have any other specific questions for you. So if there's anything, like if there's anything coming up for the season or anything in particular you want to let people know or
We do
or
need
about
people to
these
make
animals?
appointments. We don't want people just dropping in. The tours have to be by appointment. It's all online.
Appointment and family group only?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Same with
Good.
store visits. Please call ahead and arrange your appointment.
excellent. So
Yes.
by appointment
But we don't
only.
have people
Okay.
coming in from the farm tours. We've got people in the stores. So appointments are
Okay.
always the best way.
Wonderful. That is fantastic. I just want to say thank you so very much for coming and sharing your knowledge and your history and what's going on the farm and bringing these beauties in with you.
Well, thank
Carolyn
you so
and
much
Doug,
for having us. We
yeah.
appreciate it.
Entirely my pleasure. And I can't wait to give these guys another little pet.
Yeah, they'd love it.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Hi, I'm Carol Merton. I'm the host of HealthLink. HealthLink connects home, community, and healthcare. Please join me for HealthLink on Rogers TV.
For 25 years, you've been helping to make our roads safer by doing the right thing. You've been the designated driver, you've stayed over,